World War I, a war unlike anything the world had ever seen. Empires clashed, monarchies crumbled, and over 20 million lives were lost in the mud, the blood, and the madness. But amid the carnage and chaos, there was something else, a decision, a deviation, a single military mistake so critical, it changed the destiny of nations. This wasn't about just bullets or bombs. It was about misjudged strategy, broken assumptions, and the crushing weight of legacy. One general's hesitation reshaped a global war that might have ended in weeks, but instead dragged on for 4 long, brutal years. This is the story of the plan that was supposed to win the war, and the man who changed it. A tale of ambition, fear, and the cost of second-guessing when the stakes are life and death. To understand how it all went so wrong, we have to go back to the beginning, to a plan drawn in peacetime, and the man who dared to change it when war became real. By the dawn of the 20th century, Europe was an intricate machine, its gears made of treaties, rivalries, and ambition. But that machine was over-oiled with pride and primed to explode. Nationalism burned bright across the continent. Empires sought dominance on land, at sea, and across colonies in Africa and Asia. Germany, new and hungry for power, clashed with the old imperial guard, Britain, France, and Russia. The great powers had formed alliances, secret pacts, mutual defense agreements. Like dominoes waiting to fall, Europe was divided into 2 camps. It was only a matter of time. Then, on June 28, 1914, the spark. In Sarajevo, Bosnia, a teenage assassin stepped out of the shadows and pulled the trigger that shattered the world order. Austria-Hungary, enraged, declared war on Serbia. Russia came to Serbia's aid. Germany backed Austria. France backed Russia. And Britain watched the storm build. In just weeks, the entire continent was plunged into war. Borders closed, armies mobilized, trains full of soldiers snaked across Europe like veins filled with gunpowder. But Germany had been planning for this moment. Not weeks, not months, years. They had a masterstroke prepared, a lightning war that would catch their enemies off guard and deliver victory before the dust even settled. It was called the Schlieffen Plan, named after Count Alfred von Schlieffen, the mastermind behind the strategy. Its brilliance lay in its speed, its danger, in its rigidity. The plan was simple. On paper, strike France fast and hard through neutral Belgium. Avoid the heavily fortified French-German border. Crush France before Russia could mobilize in the east. It was a gamble, a race against time, a war on 2 fronts, but only if Germany lost the race. Germany was ready to bet everything on this plan. One sweeping move, one decisive blow. But what happens when you tamper with the one thing that wasn't meant to change? To the German High Command, the greatest threat wasn't the war itself, it was timing. Germany faced the nightmare scenario, a war on 2 fronts. France to the west, Russia to the east, and in the middle, Germany, outnumbered and surrounded. The Schlieffen Plan was meant to prevent that. Devised by Count Alfred von Schlieffen in 1905, it was a masterclass in military engineering. Strike first, strike fast, strike hard. The plan was simple. On paper, invade France through neutral Belgium. Avoid the heavily fortified Franco-German border. Encircle Paris. Crush the French army in 6 weeks. The genius of the plan lay in deception. France expected Germany to come straight at them. Instead, the Germans would sweep down from the north like a scythe, slicing through Belgium, then swinging down to encircle Paris from behind. It was bold, it was elegant, and it depended on a series of very dangerous assumptions. The first mistake, they assumed Belgium wouldn't resist. A tiny kingdom, standing in the path of one of the largest armies in the world. They thought Belgium would simply let them pass. But Belgium fought back hard. Fortresses like Liège slowed the German advance. Delays mounted. Time was lost. The second mistake, they thought Britain would stay out. But Germany's invasion of neutral Belgium violated a treaty Britain had sworn to uphold. On August 4, 1914, Britain declared war on Germany. What was meant to be a short, isolated war had now become a global conflict. But perhaps the most critical mistake wasn't in the plan itself. It was what happened after Schlieffen died, when the plan passed into the hands of General Helmuth von Moltke the Younger. Moltke feared France might break through the German center if the right wing was too strong. So, without Schlieffen's vision, he weakened the very part of the plan designed to win the war. Troops were moved from the crucial western swing to reinforce the eastern defenses. Moltke diluted the knockout blow in exchange for caution. The plan was supposed to take 6 weeks, but the Belgians slowed them down. The British showed up, and the right wing, the hammer, was no longer strong enough to crush France in time. The Germans were moving, but not fast enough. The plan was unraveling. And then came the battle that would change the war. The Battle of the Marne, where the Schlieffen Plan met its end. Enter General Helmuth von Moltke the Younger, Germany's chief of the General Staff. He didn't create the Schlieffen Plan, but he would be the one to change it and break it. Schlieffen's vision relied on a strong right wing, a crushing blow, swinging through Belgium, wrapping around Paris, and forcing France into surrender, speed, strength, surprise. But Moltke feared a French breakthrough from the south, so he weakened the right. He shifted divisions to the center and east, even though the plan depended on overwhelming power in the west. And then, in the middle of the invasion, he did the unthinkable. He moved troops during the operation. Units were redirected to the Eastern Front, others sent south. Moltke broke the one thing the Schlieffen Plan demanded most: coordination. Belgium was no open gate. It was a wall. The Belgians blew up bridges, resisted fiercely, and held key forts longer than Germany had expected. Every day lost meant time gained for France and Britain. Then came the British. The British Expeditionary Force, small but professional, rushed to aid France. The Germans, already delayed, now faced another problem. France, meanwhile, was not collapsing. They were regrouping and preparing to strike back. The German right wing, once a hammer, was now stretched too thin. Over 600 kilometers of exposed lines, exhausted soldiers, fraying supply chains. Then came the Battle of the Marne, September 1914. The Germans were within striking distance of Paris, but they were exhausted, scattered, disorganized. French and British forces struck back with precision. Intelligence from aerial reconnaissance revealed a gap between the German armies. France seized the moment and drove a wedge into the heart of the German advance. The Germans were forced to retreat, The advance had stalled. The right wing never completed its swing. Paris was saved. The knockout blow had missed. And with that, the Schlieffen Plan was dead. Moltke's changes, his caution, his transfers, his hesitation had shattered the one strategy that might have won Germany the war in weeks. Instead, the war dug in. A bloody stalemate stretched from the North Sea to the Swiss border. The world would now witness years of unimaginable slaughter because one man changed the plan. Over a century later, General Helmuth von Moltke the Younger is still being studied, not as a hero, but as a warning. His decision to alter the Schlieffen Plan mid-campaign is now taught in military academies around the world as a classic case of how tactical missteps can create strategic disasters. Moltke's mistake wasn't simply a bad decision. It was a failure of clarity, of nerve, and of communication. He inherited a bold plan, but lacked the conviction or coordination to carry it through. He acted out of caution, but in doing so, he lost the initiative. His story raises critical questions we still ask today. When should a commander improvise? When is it wiser to stick to the plan? Leadership in war is a balancing act between flexibility and fidelity, between instinct and discipline. Moltke's changes weren't enormous on paper, shifting divisions here, reallocating reinforcements there, but in execution, those changes unraveled everything. A plan that relied on timing, mass, and surprise was turned into a slow, reactive grind, and the consequences were global. Today's generals operate in a world of real-time data and AI-guided strategy, but the lesson remains the same. Even now, in the age of precision warfare, a single misstep in planning or a moment of doubt in execution can echo across history. Moltke didn't lose World War I in a single moment, but his misjudgment at its outset ensured it would not be won quickly. A war meant to last weeks, dragged on for years, and the ripple effects shaped the century that followed. In the end, the legacy of Moltke's mistake is not just about 1914, it's about every war that followed. It's about how plans, once broken, can break the world with them. The failure of the Schlieffen Plan did more than stall an invasion. It transformed the very nature of war itself. What was meant to be a swift campaign became a slaughterhouse. 4 years of trench warfare, millions dead for meters of ground. Across hundreds of miles, men dug into the earth, from the Belgian coast to the Swiss frontier. A world of mud, wire, and fear. The Western Front had become a cage of death. Had Moltke followed the original plan? Had the right wing remained strong? Could Germany have taken Paris in weeks? Could the war have ended in 1914? It's one of the greatest what-ifs in military history. Some historians argue Schlieffen's plan was flawed from the start. Too ambitious, too dependent on perfect timing. Others believe Moltke's changes doomed it before the first shot was fired. Instead of a lightning victory, the world got the done. 10 months, 700,000 casualties. For a battle with no true victor. Then came the Somme, a single day in 1916. 20,000 British soldiers dead. The bloodiest day in British military history. And the lines barely moved. And Passchendaele, where the rain never stopped and the mud swallowed men whole. A living nightmare forged by the failure of movement, by the loss of initiative. The war had changed. No longer about swift victory. It became a test of industry, of endurance, of attrition. The trenches became the face of World War I, a face born from a single strategic mistake. A mistake that shaped the 20th century and haunted generations to come. A single mistake, a single shift in command, changed the course of World War I. Not with a dramatic collapse, not with thunder and flame, but with a misjudged order, a hesitation at the worst possible moment. He believed he was adapting. He thought he was protecting the line. But in trying to fix the plan, Moltke broke the war. So, what do you think? Was Moltke's change a necessary adaptation, given the uncertainty of war? Or was it a fatal blunder that doomed millions to years of horror? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read them all. Smash that like button if you learned something new, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the decisions, the disasters, and the defining moments that shaped history.